And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Tonight we will be discussing how the stimulus benefits are set to expire between December 26th to January 1st, 2021. And those benefits are the state and federal unemployment insurance benefits, your mortgage forbearance, your student loan forbearance, the eviction moratorium, and most of the aid that was given to the states. As I've been saying on this channel for a very, very long time, since this whole pandemic has started, for some of us, it's going to feel like we are in a boom. And for others, it's going to feel as if you are in the middle of a depression. It really just depends on where you are in the economy. And I don't sit up here and say this because I'm happy. I'm not saying these things because I want to promote doomsday porn to you. I say this because it's just clear as to what's going to happen and why this is happening. Now, what you also have to understand is that we have multiple things hitting us at one time. And I think that you need to make sure that you're paying attention to this. We have a spike in COVID cases now, right while these benefits are set to expire. We have a lame duck president sitting in the White House. What does that mean? You should not be expecting any aid or relief within the next 2 months. And then once Biden is in office, it may take him another 60 to 90 days to fully get his administration staffed in the correct way. So now we have to start saying to ourselves, what is the economy going to look like with no stimulus? Where the government's not really going to want to work together with a sitting lame duck president. These things matter. Now, we're also probably going to go into another lockdown or some type of a shutdown with the spike in these cases. So there's a lot of different things that's hitting us at one time. And what you have to understand is this is what happens when you have a heavily centralized system that's fragile, right? The fragility of this system where it becomes a cascading domino effect, right? Because if people don't have stimulus and they lose their unemployment insurance benefits, then they're not spending money in the economy. Well, if people aren't spending money in the economy, and 70% of the economy is made up of consumer spending, then what does that mean for mom and pop businesses? Then they begin to start going out of business, right? If states can't use the pandemic funds for their tax revenue losses, then what does that do for them, right? So you start seeing this cascading effect. If people can't pay their mortgages, then what happens to the derivatives that are linked to those mortgages? So you have this very fragile system. And then you have anti-fragile systems like Bitcoin, like Ethereum and DeFi, where it's not that things can't happen, but when adverse things happen in those systems, because they're heavily decentralized, it makes the system stronger, which makes the system anti-fragile. So this great reset is accelerating. And this is why I keep stressing to you guys about understanding technology, because Jerome Powell, who is the Federal Reserve Chairman, said that many of these jobs are not coming back. And I've been telling you this for so long. Go look at the earnings reports for Walmart, for Target, for Amazon. We're probably only going to have 3 major retailers coming out of this. This is all a part of the Great Reset. And this pandemic is only going to accelerate that. Because so much of the economy is based upon labor. Well, technology skirts around labor because robots don't get sick. They don't need pensions. They don't need 401ks, right? So all of these things are interlinked and intertwined. And I really think that you need to start paying attention to what's going on, because we just lived through our generation's roaring 20s where the economy was booming. Debt was easy. It was flowing. And now we're about to go through the 30s. And if you go back to 1930 and beyond, from that point, it was filled with depressions, booms and busts. It was filled with war. And these are things that you have to start thinking about and getting yourself prepared. Again, I'm not here to be a doomsdayer. I'm here to get you to understand that a shift is happening and you need to try to get yourself ahead of that shift. I've been telling you about gold, silver, crypto, and look, wealth is being created. Wealth is being created all around you. If you spent the past 9 months listening to people tell you that the sky is going to fall, that the world is going to end, they've been wrong. The world will be here 5 years from now, 10 years from now. The question just will be, in what shape will the global economy be in, and where will you be in the hierarchy of the global economy? The middle class is being hollowed out, and that's all a part of the Great Reset as well, to create polarization. There's no middle in politics anymore. There's no middle in the economy anymore. There's no middle. It's either black or white, left or right, up or down. You have to start getting yourself in tune with where you are trying to go. And I emphasize technology so much because someone has to build the robots. Someone has to manage the robots. Someone has to program the robots. Let that person be you, and don't be the person on the receiving end. So that's what we will be discussing tonight. So please do me a favor as you come into this live stream and like this video, share this video, subscribe. Make sure that you hit the notification bell and set it to all so that you will receive all of my notifications when I go live. Also, join my mailing list so that when I'm going live, if YouTube doesn't send you the notification, I will be able to notify you via email. For those of you who want to contact me, a link to my Instagram is in the description below. Simply click the link, follow me, shoot me a DM, and we can begin to dialogue. For those of you that are interested in learning about blockchain technology, learning about cryptocurrencies from the standpoint of how you can invest, how you can store them, how you can even work on your own crypto and build your own crypto. We have a coding bootcamp going on, getting you prepared for the shift that's to come. I created My Tech Academy. We have a free 7-day trial. It will cost you nothing to try it out. Go and give it a look. For those of you who are looking to book a consultation with me, again, you come over to the website, you click on book a consultation. I will then confirm a date that I'm available and a time. We will then correspond and link up, and then we will have our consultation. For those of you who are interested in investing with me, because I know a lot of you have reached out to me, the minimum investment is $25,000, right? This isn't some mom and pop investment. And the reason why the investment amount is so high is that I want qualified people to be investing with me. I don't want people who are struggling. It's their last $5,000. No, I want people who understand risk versus reward. I want people to understand what they're investing in. Now, if you're interested in investing, reach out to me. I'll send over the prospectus to you and let you know exactly what's going on, and then send you over the contract. For those of you who've already received the contract and you funded the account, you check your email. You should have all of the following instructions going forward, and we'll go from there. And I think that pretty much covers everything. Also, for those of you who are part of the academy, come over into the Slack group. We're not using the community section anymore over here with Kajabi. It's just easier for us to communicate via Slack, because when you message me or you have a question, I can respond straight from my phone, and my phone's always on me. So it's easier for us to communicate via Slack because I get the notifications immediately. So it's like you're just texting me. So that's very important. And also, for those of you who funded the account, I believe it's 2 of you. I tried calling you, and for whatever reason, your phone number is not working, or the number that you submitted isn't correctly. Please make sure that the information is correct so that I can send you the following instructions. And with that being said, guys, type 1 if you can see me clearly, hear me clearly, and we can get started with our live stream tonight. Okay, the ones are coming in. Great. Thank you for the donation, J Radical. And tomorrow, we're only doing crypto tomorrow. And we have a community-led event as well on Sunday, right? Sunday for the community. That's going to be our community live stream from My Tech Academy. Guys, make sure that you attend it live. And even for those of you who are struggling to coding bootcamp, this is what we have our live get-togethers for. Come into the Zoom on Sunday so that we can get everything covered. I just saw another donation come in. I've given a 10 grand to a young lady researching blockchain tech. Could I buy a consultation for her from you? Absolutely, you can. Indigo babies, 100%. Just come over to my website and book a consultation. I believe I'm free all day Tuesday, so Tuesday will be a good day. And thank you, J Radical. Also, I was saying that for those of you who donate via PayPal, tomorrow when we talk about crypto, I'll make sure I give all you guys a shout out because there's been a lot of you who sent me, $1, $5, whatever the case would be. I appreciate it all. Thank you 100%. So, right here, it says some of the last remaining stimulus programs for the unemployed, renters, and student loan borrowers are set to expire by the end of December unless Congress or President Trump takes action. While Congress moved swiftly to deliver trillions of dollars in pandemic relief programs when the country first shut down in March, a lot of these benefits have already lapsed. Now, again, you clearly can see Trump basically lost. Now, whether you think it was stolen from him, that doesn't really matter. The bottom line is he lost, and he's being a sore loser. And I don't see him want to work with, Democrats to help us regular people. Now, this is very key here. What a lot of you don't understand, and I've been saying this going back to my videos in March, the first stimulus package wasn't big enough in the first place, based upon the amount of deflationary forces that we were having. Then now you have to take into account in September, we were supposed to get another stimulus. So the first stimulus wasn't big enough. And then you didn't get a second stimulus. So even if you get some type of a stimulus now, between now and when Biden comes in office, you're already one stimulus behind. So people are struggling out here in a massive and major way. And they're already one stimulus behind. And even if they pass something that's, let's say, $600 billion, it's still not enough. I was telling you, we need about $18 trillion altogether from monetary policy, from the Fed, and from fiscal policy. And then you have to think about the states and the condition that the states are in, because when you shut down your economy, you're not getting enough tax revenue in to be able to properly run and have a functioning government. And this is one of the biggest hiccups that Nancy Pelosi and them were having when they were debating about the stimulus package. Was it all came down to funding for the states, because they don't want funding to go to blue states. So this is what happens when you have partisan politics and you have gridlock, because now it's really just a game of, the chicken or the egg. But at the end of the day, remember that the longer that you stay unemployed, your skills start to deteriorate as well. And you need to start thinking about that. Make sure that you're, paying attention to that. So first thing I want to focus on is the eviction protection. A lot of states in certain jurisdictions, they were already trying to find loopholes to evict people during this whole crisis. The moratorium is going to be lifted January 1st. So let's zoom in a little bit so you can see this. It says a Center for Disease Control and Prevention order that went into effect in September temporarily halted evictions through the end of the year. It applies to renters who meet certain income requirements, have experienced significant losses of income, and have made their best efforts to find rental assistance and pay their rent. Since the order does not cancel or freeze rent, all of the tenants' back rent will be due January 1st if the moratorium is allowed to expire. Without rent relief or an extension of the protection, many struggling renters will face eviction. An eviction moratorium established by Congress in March shielded only tenants who received federal assistance or live in rental properties with federally backed financing. That protection lapsed over the summer. So now think about this. Even if you were lucky enough to have this moratorium in place or this freeze in place, come January 1st, you have to figure out a way to try to pay back all that back rent. Most people are not in the financial position to be able to do that. As I said before, you have the perfect storm. So when I have the trolls coming on my video and saying, oh, you was expecting turmoil and, volatility during the election week, it just may be extended for another 2 or 3 weeks. It's coming. And this is the rock to sleep right now because everyone's saying, oh, look at the stock market. It's up. The stock market is not a reflection of the economy. And I have so many videos proving that to you, right? Like just because the stock market is doing well doesn't mean the economy is doing well. You have Wall Street and you have Main Street. Wall Street does well because of financial engineering, because of stock buybacks, because of the repo market, because they can go to and borrow money at very, very cheap rates. And they can get access to the junk market and junk debt. That's the problem, right? Wall Street is completely separated from Main Street. And we know that. And you have to make sure that you are paying attention to what's going on. You have to be a three-dimensional thinker. And you have to think about the plunge protection team. Jerome Powell made it very clear to you that he's not going to let asset prices fall. They're not going to do that. Asset prices are not reflective of your purchasing power, of your financial health. It's not, because many of you don't own enough stock. And if you do, it's tied up into some type of pension or 401k that you can't access anyway. It's not liquid, so it doesn't matter. And this is why it's important to make sure you're paying attention to this. And this is the next thing I wanted to focus on, right? This is the virus relief funds for states. This is very, very key. And this is why our first stimulus could not get passed. Congress provided $150 billion in state and local governments to help them cover virus-related expenses. But, very key here, states have to use those funds by December 30th. States are on track to expend all the funds by the deadline, according to a National Governors Association survey of 42 states and territories. Most of the money has been used for health-related expenses, economic relief, education, and childcare, and government expenses. However, governors have repeatedly requested that they have more time to use the money and that they also be able to spend it on budget shortfalls, not just pandemic costs. And that was the biggest hiccup. Again, I have to stress this to you. You're already a stimulus check behind. You're already a stimulus program behind because they were debating a $2 trillion stimulus in September, right? So if you go back to the first stimulus, which was around $2 trillion, and this, which was around $4 trillion, I was telling you, combined between monetary policy and fiscal policy, you need about $18 trillion to get the economy just to even be halfway decent. So now, even if you get some, thrown together last minute stimulus, that's not enough. And think about the timing of this. And this is how you know that you're dealing with wicked people, because you have the holidays coming up. The last thing that you should be thinking about the day after Christmas is if you're going to lose your unemployment benefits. This is how you just know that you're dealing with wicked beasts. These people are not human, and you're dealing with people that want to manipulate and control you, because the holidays, I don't care what your religious beliefs may be or what your personal beliefs may be about Christmas and New Year's and Thanksgiving. That's not the context of this video. This is a period of time where people get together and enjoy themselves. Now, think about this. You're having a spike in cases, so people don't want to travel. People are already struggling financially. Now you have to worry about, on the 26th, will you lose your unemployment insurance benefits? Will the eviction moratorium be lifted? What about student loans, right? And student loan forbearance? Because at the end of the day, the forbearance doesn't help you anyway, because the interest is still accruing on those loans as well, right? Which is a problem in itself, because these student loans are predatory in nature anyway. So it says unemployment. 12 million might lose benefits after Christmas. Here's what you should know. Enhanced unemployment benefits and other programs established with the CARES Act, let's zoom in a little bit for you guys so you can see it a little bit better, back in March, are set to expire at the end of 2020. A study from the Century Foundation released Wednesday found 12 million people will lose their federal and state unemployment benefits on December 26th unless another stimulus bill is passed. President-elect Joe Biden has already released his economic recovery plan, but he doesn't take office until his inauguration, which is January 20th. What did I say? Do you really think Trump is going to be incentivized to work with government knowing that he lost? I just don't see it. And if they do, it's not going to be enough. It says Democrats and Republicans didn't make a deal to authorize more stimulus money before November 3rd elections. And the two parties have yet to speak further about negotiations over the relief package. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer say they won't budge from their $2 trillion virus relief package, which includes a second stimulus check. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell continues to insist on smaller, more focused stimulus bills in the region of $500 billion. That is not enough. That is not enough. Now, again, as I was saying to you, remember, as soon as the stock market started crashing, Jerome Powell ended up creating a lending facility to the tune of was 2.5 trillion and 3.5, then another. So the Fed said they're willing to buy ETFs, junk bonds, whatever the case may be, to get the stock market back up. So we know where the government's true intentions lie and their loyalty and their allegiances lie. With Wall Street. Because they gave you $1,200 and they haven't given you anything yet but your unemployment benefits. Wall Street gets trillions with no problem. So this is why the stock market is performing well. And mainstream isn't performing well. Right? And you need to make sure that you're paying attention, as to what's going on. So I'm going to read this last paragraph and then I'll put this in the chat as well so that you can go and read this, because I think that this is going to be really, really big in terms of what this is going to do for the economy. And then another thing you have to think about is that, again, 70% of our economy is based upon consumption. Well, if we're going to have lockdowns or we're going to have a slowdown in this time period, Christmas and Black Friday and New Year's, that's the time of the year when people probably spend the most amount of money. So what is this going to do to the economy long term, right? So these things matter when you start thinking about where things are actually going to go. You have to make sure that you are paying attention to this. So it says, for now, that leaves tens of millions of people wondering what will happen next. Unemployed workers received a bonus of $600 a week, along with an extended period to collect benefits as part of the CARES Act from March. When the bonus expired in July, President Donald Trump signed an executive memo to restart the extra weekly funds on top of the typical unemployment benefits. Those funds are known as lost wage assistance, or LWA, and the intent was for the aid to last for 6 weeks, providing an extra $300 a week to unemployed workers, while Congress continued to negotiate to pass a new economic relief package. States have already depleted their resources. So, this is what happens when you're dealing with a fragile system. This is the fragility of this type of a system and this type of government. And when you have gridlock like this and polarization, it's very hard to get things done. And as I said before, when you look at decentralized finance and you look at crypto, that is an anti-fragile system, right? It has anti-fragility, meaning that when things happen, The best and brightest minds get together to solve the problem to prevent that from happening. What happens in these type of systems is that the Fed comes in and tries to push on a string, but when you're pushing one way, you're pulling another way. So when the Fed tries to enact monetary policy and cause inflation, they really only cause inflation for the rich, or inflation for asset prices, or inflation for real estate, which doesn't benefit you because you are a renter, right? So the things are inflating on the things that you use on a daily basis, so it doesn't benefit you. And this is why we do need a great reset. The question just is, I don't think we need to reset that Klaus and the World Economic Forum wants to bring to us. Now, let's jump a little bit further, right? So we know student loan forbearance is set to expire. Mortgage forbearance is set to expire. The eviction moratorium is set to expire. Unemployment benefits are set to expire. And relief for the states are set to expire. And I believe right now that the government's on recess right now for the Thanksgiving holiday that's coming up. So this is very, very, very problematic going forward. And again, if this doesn't wake you up, then I don't really know what will wake you up. Now, this struck me, like when I saw this, I said, this is crazy. The amount of people that are lining up for food, right? Like people are like for free food at food drives and food banks. People are struggling out here. And this is why, I know that we're a finance channel and we talk about finance and economics all the time. You cannot allow our gains in crypto to blind us to the world. This is a difficult time that we are living in. For those of us who have been preparing, guys, we're going to thrive. We're going to do well. But for a lot of people, they're hurting and they're struggling. And, you have to look at this line and how many people are lining up for food. Like, let's look at this together. Look how far back this line goes. Look how far back this line is. Like, you have to think about this, man. This is important. These are people. These are humans that can't eat or they're struggling to eat. This is in America, the quote unquote greatest country, the richest country. So if it's like that here, start thinking about the global economy, right? Because we are intertwined whether you like it or not. This is in Texas. I believe this is Dallas, Texas. Now, what I want you to understand, because I know what some of you are going to say, well, they always have food drives around this time. I'm about to play another clip for you, and I want you to listen to what the lady says. She's going to say that normally around this time, they expect to feed about 400 families. They're up to 1,500 already. And meaning that they're running out of food. There's more than 1,500 people. They normally only feed 400. They fed over, I think it was like 12 or 1,500 people, and more people wanted food. So you have to think about this, man. People are really struggling. And that's with these stimulus benefits that's in place now. What happens if these stimulus benefits run out? Now you have to start saying to yourself, is this by demand? Like, is this planned? Because we have a spike in cases, election, lame duck president, more lockdowns to come, and now all of the benefits are set to expire. When you put your conspiracy thinking cap on, you start saying to yourself, maybe this is by design. Just maybe. So listen to this next video.
Harrison Avenue in wonderful Camden.
Okay.
And so we're seeing the cars drive through. You guys are helping more families than you usually do this year, aren't you?
Absolutely. So in the past, we've helped about 450 families.
This Thanksgiving and Christmas, we have over 1,500 families that we're serving. And just for this Thanksgiving, we had to really consider families that couldn't come in to receive their turkeys and food boxes.
Okay.
And so we're seeing the cars drive through. You guys are helping more families than you usually do this year, aren't you?
Absolutely. So in the past, we've helped about 450 families. This Thanksgiving and Christmas, we have over 1,500 families that we're serving. And just for this Thanksgiving, we had to really consider families that couldn't come in to receive their turkeys and food boxes. So we had to get deliveries, and Logistic Care helped by delivering 500 turkeys straight to people's homes, people who were housebound or didn't have vehicles, which is wonderful. And as you see behind me, there's a truck. That's U.S. cold storage that was able to provide storage for those turkeys. And then the Food Bank of South Jersey that donated all of these turkeys and food boxes. I mean, we could not do this without so many wonderful partners that are really coming alongside us and making a difference for these families.
Well, it's certainly a perfect shot. We see how it's working. Nobody has to get out of their cars or trucks, right?
Absolutely. We had to think creatively this year because normally they would have come in, we would have welcomed the families.
I see a lot of you in the chat talking about the way that she's dressed. That's the first thing I noticed as well when I saw the way that she was dressed. She does look like what you just said she looks like. You know, I mean, yeah, it does look a little crazy. But taking away the context of this economy is not doing well. And it hasn't been doing well. Even under Trump, if you look at the amount of manufacturing jobs that was lost versus gained, if you look at the farmers underneath Trump with the trade war in China, the economy was not doing well for Main Street everyday people. And I know globalization is a problem, but it's not really even the outsourcing of jobs. It goes back to the microchip, right? The microchip is the problem. And this pandemic is only going to accelerate people losing their jobs. That's just the reality as to what's going to happen to the microchip. I was in the supermarket the other day, quick story, and I went through the self-checkout, and they had two people just standing there, and their job is just to check your receipt when you walk out. Now, normally, these people would be working at the cashier. But now because we have these self-checkout kiosks and machines, they really don't have anything to do. Literally, they're getting paid to just look at your receipt. And they don't really look at your receipt. So that's a job where you can start looking at it and saying to yourself, you really don't need any of these people. Right? So you have to really start looking at this, you know, and saying to yourself, you know, where this is going to go. Now, Jerome Powell, who is your Federal Reserve Chairman, he said, we're never going back to the old economy. And I've been saying this on this channel for over a year now, that I could just look at the trends as to where things are going to go. And you can just see it. Like it's so in your face. This just accelerated it. And as I said before, go look at the earnings report for Walmart, Target, and Amazon. I told you, coming out of this, we're probably only going to have 3 major retailers. I've been saying this to you. But again, it's not all doom and gloom because someone has to program the kiosks. Someone has to work on the kiosk, right? Someone has to write the software for the kiosk. Someone has to build the robots. So there will be jobs. The question is, are you getting the resources and the talent and the education for this new technological shift? Or are you sitting around listening to fools tell you that the world's going to end, right? For those who are prepared, you will thrive in this economy. If you know how to program, if you know how to code, you will thrive in this economy. Now, everyone can't be a web developer or programmer or coder and then get into IT. Now, again, are there other fields that might thrive? Yes. I only can speak to you for what I know to be true and for what I know that works. It says, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell doubled down on his remarks that the economy as we know it is over during a virtual appearance Tuesday at the Bay Area Council Business Hall of Fame Awards ceremony. We are not going back to the same economy. We are going back to a different economy, Powell said, echoing comments he made at the European Central Bank's Forum on Central Banking last week. The pandemic has accelerated ongoing trends, including the increasing use of technology, automation, and telework, Powell said Thursday. And while these changes will be beneficial for some, they will hurt certain groups in the short term. On Tuesday, Powell also reiterated that people in lower income jobs hadn't recovered as much as others, and that workers in the services economy might need more help going forward. I agree. The recovery is incomplete, he said, warning of near-term risks surrounding the resurgence of the pandemic infections. We have a long way to go. And another thing I want to say, when I say pandemic, I'm not saying that the coronavirus isn't real. It's very real. The virus is real. What I'm saying is the reaction and the response and how it's being handled. There are people who are using this for political and economic gain. So when I say pandemic, I'm not a fool. I'm a scientist by nature. By default, I believe in science. I 1000% believe in science. But you can't tell me that it is okay for thousands of people to get together and march and protest for hours, but you can't go to your family's house for Thanksgiving. You can't go to a sporting event. You can't go to church. You can't have a certain amount of people in, an establishment, but yet I see people with no masks, looting, rioting, and burning down stuff, and that's okay. A person with a brain can look at that and say, that doesn't make sense to me. It's okay to protest for days, but I can't go to church. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Now, Jeff Booth, who, again, I keep trying to tell you guys, if you are part of My Tech Academy, I always tell you guys about this book. We go here to resources. And thank you for the donation, Mac. I appreciate it. This book right here, The Price of Tomorrow by Jeff Booth. You have to read this book. If you read this book, you will have a much better understanding as to what is going on with technology and how technology is deflationary and how the Fed is trying to fight deflation with monetary policy, but it's not helping us. It's only helping asset holders. So right here, this person, Travis Kimmel, he says, the problem is technological progress obviates labor. Technology is advancing exponentially. Our resource distribution model is based on labor. Central banks are trying to fix this with monetary policy. Since that's all they have, it will fail. And that's very important that you understand that. The entire economy is based upon you getting up and going to work and getting paid. Your economic health is based upon labor, and the resources is doled out based upon your economic output at that job. But if I can get a robot or a machine that can run 24/7, 365, it does not get sick, it doesn't need a 401k, and in most cases, the machine is more efficient than you are. That's a problem because now your labor isn't needed. And then if you can't sell your labor for income, how do you live? How do you survive? So we need a reset in how we give out resources, right? The way that economic resources are doled out can no longer be based upon labor because your labor isn't as valuable as it used to be because of the microchip. And as a society, we have to start asking ourselves those questions. Now, this is where universal basic income comes into play, UBI. I support UBI, but what you have to understand is, will UBI come attached to a central bank digital currency that will be tracked and monitored with everything that you're doing, right? So will you have the freedom to use your money how you want to, or will government use this as another form of control? And we know that with the road to hell was paved with good intentions. So UBI may sound good, But if it comes with the government trying to control what you can do with that money, that becomes a problem. So while I do support what Andrew Yang is saying because it's rooted in logic and facts, the next thing you have to say to yourself is, what strings will be attached to that UBI? So these are things that you have to start thinking about, right? Because you have to also start thinking about there will be large segments of people who they're functionally illiterate, right? And nothing wrong with it, but there's people who are disabled, they may have mental health issues. They can't go into the gig economy or wherever they need to go and get new skills. What do we do with them? Do we just, cast them to the side and throw them away, right? So, and Jordan Peterson speaks about this a lot too. Sam Smith speaks about this a lot as well. What do we do with a large segment of our population who, again, they have mental health issues, they have learning disabilities, they can't go back to school and pick up another skill to then come out here and be retrained for these green jobs and, the whole Green New Deal thing. What do we do with those people? So I do support UBI, but under what terms? Thank you for the donation, Loverboy. Loverboy, I say this in almost every video, the cryptocurrencies that I own. I'd say this all the time. It's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polkadot, Chainlink, Cosmos, VeChain. I love Basic Attention Token, 0x. A lot of these new decentralized, like these DEXs, Aave, Compound, like anything with DeFi, I love that as well. So I always talk about that. If you're in the academy, I'm putting together an Excel spreadsheet of everything that I own and things that I have on my wish list. I even start looking at some coins out of the top 100. I start talking about Band Protocol, Nest, SNX is another good one. DYDX is another good protocol to look at. So no, XRP is absolute garbage. Can you make money with it? Yes. Is the technology worth putting your money into? Absolutely no. But thank you for the donation, Loverboy TV. So, and I want to show you these robots because, people don't understand, and I show this a lot, but these are the robots. This is a company called Boston Dynamics. This exists now, today. I don't show you this to scare you. This exists today, right now. And this video is probably like 2 or 3 years old. So now you have to start saying to yourself, if this is what they're showing, imagine what they have that's just not ready to be displayed and revealed to the world. This is a part of the Great Reset. You have to, don't worry, we're going to get into Bitcoin at the end of the video, Felix. We're going to dive into some crypto stuff at the end of the video. Thank you so much for the donation. Thank you to those of you who've been following, my advice. Many of you are doing well financially, and I'm proud. I'm proud that I can expose those of you who are new to this type of technology. But these robots are here, and they're only going to get bigger and better as time goes on because of Moore's law.
And this was just done recently here. Vision is being used.
Right? Again, I'm not showing this to scare you. I'm showing you this is what's here. This is the acceleration. It's coming. Right? And I wouldn't even say it's coming. It's here. It's just a matter of, do you believe it or not? Excuse me. But again, someone has to work on that robot. Someone has to maintain that robot. Someone has to program and write the software that the robot is going to use. AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, learning Python and Django and Flask is important. Learning HTML, JavaScript, and CSS is important. C and C Sharp. Learning these things so that you can have a job for the future. Revenge of the nerds is real. It's here. Look at the wealth that the FANG stocks were able to capture. Look at Tesla. NIO, Tesla. Like every company going forward in some aspect is going to have to be a technology company. Go and look at how cars are built today. Go look at an assembly line. It's nothing but humans just managing robots. And the robots is putting on the windows, putting on the doors. They have arms that do that. This is here. Every company is a technology company. And how much of a technology company you are is going to determine how profitable you will go for it. Every company is a tech company. A lot of people just don't realize it. When you look at let's go to a plant that may, source tomatoes and cut them up. A machine is doing all of that. It's technology. It's technology everywhere. Look at real estate companies and real estate firms, how they aggregate data. That's technology. How they can find foreclosures and pre-sales. That's all tech. That's all technology. You have to be a three-dimensional thinker to see that. Zillow, that's technology. Trulia, technology. That's all tech. Someone has to write that. And as I said before, it's exciting times for those of us who are prepared, who have skills. It's going to be hard times for those of you who don't. And I want to read this to you because I think that this is important. Because I was talking to you about the Roaring '20s. And history doesn't repeat itself, but it damn sure rhymes. And I say this all the time. It says, the Roaring '20s was a period in history of dramatic social and political change. For the first time, more Americans lived in cities than on farms. The nation's wealth more than doubled between 1920 and 1929. The economic growth swept many Americans into an affluent but unfamiliar consumer society. What did I just say? 70% of our economy is based upon consumption. And we're going through that right now, similar to the 1920s. People from coast to coast bought the same goods thanks to nationwide advertising and the spread of chain stores, listened to the same music, did the same dance moves, the same dances, and even used the same slang. Many Americans were uncomfortable with this new urban, sometimes racy mass culture. In fact, most people in the United States, the 1920s brought more conflict than celebration. However, for a small handful of young people in the nation's big cities, the 1920s were roaring indeed. What do we see happening right now? The coastal cities are doing well economically. So much wealth and stuff is happening there. But if you go through the Rust Belt, if you go through the Midwest, many of them are being hollowed out because of globalization and also because of the microchip. So the same thing that happened in the 20s, it's happening at an accelerated pace right now. And again, you have to make sure that you are keeping up. You have to make sure that you are paying attention and that you don't get left behind. You have to understand what's going on. It's important that you pay attention, because if you're paying attention, you'll understand where we are and where we are going. Now,
I heard you guys have workday now.
Yeah.
what's
We're great
this?
partners. They're always there with insights and guidance. It's like having.
So, thank you for the donation. This is scary. I need to see this. I have been with my employer 20 years. Training was 2/3x a year. Now training is 15x a year. Thank you for the donation. 100%, Ebony. A lot of people aren't paying attention to this because they just, it's very easy to get rocked to sleep, right? It's very easy for that to happen. Now, I don't want to make this all doom and gloom. As I said before, Let's take a step back. Let's think about this for a second. Can we possibly get some type of a stimulus? Maybe. I doubt it. It's still not going to be enough. As I said before, we're still a stimulus behind. We didn't get the one in September. So even if we get one now, it's still not enough because the first one wasn't enough. But it says Mnuchin says he and GOP leaders will discuss plans to pass targeted stimulus with Democrats' help. Now, when they say targeted, they're talking about $500 billion. Again, anything is better than nothing, but $500 billion isn't enough. Because again, what did I say? We have 10,000 boomers reaching retirement age every single day. Boomers by default are deflationary because when people retire, they consume and they spend less because they're living off of half of the income they were earning when they were working. They're also deflationary because they want to pull money out of the stock market. They're deflationary because they want to downgrade their homes. All of that's deflationary because our economy is based upon people going into debt and spending money. Well, if people aren't doing that, or the large segment of people aren't doing that, that's problematic. But let's get to the article. It says Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said Friday that he and senior GOP lawmakers will attempt to draft a targeted stimulus package with Democrats in the coming weeks. Mnuchin explained that he and White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows will later Friday convene with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy to brainstorm ideas for a more targeted relief package. Mnuchin, who with Meadows has led President Trump's stimulus discussion for months, expressed some optimism that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer may be more open to a compromise following the 2020 elections. I just don't see it. Some person says, Shannon Marie Bell, pay attention. I don't know who that is, but thank you for the donation, Earl Edley. Maybe it's a person in the chat being disruptive. I don't know. But thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. He says, I can tell you Mark Meadows and I will be speaking with Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy this morning. He said, and we're going to come up with a plan to sit down with Pelosi and Schumer to try to get a targeted bill done for the people that really need it. And hopefully the Democrats will work with us. This is asinine. Everyone needs it. First of all, the mortgage forbearance and the student loan forbearance is huge. Number one, most people can't afford the student loans in the first place. Now, Biden is talking about passing some type of executive order wiping out up to $50,000 of student loan debt. That would greatly free up millennials because student loan forbearance really is just kicking the can down the road. It really doesn't help you. And if you're tied down with these student loans, that stops you from consuming, right? And consuming in the economy and being productive. So, giving people more unemployment, that helps. But at the end of the day, people need more than that. Like these things that were passed should have been permanent in the first place. Like as long as the pandemic is going on, these things should have been in place. And I've been telling you, the first $2 to $3 trillion they passed wasn't enough. The 2.2 that Nancy Pelosi was trying to get wasn't enough, right? Because you have to combat all of this deflation that's happening and this dislocation and the fact that, like Powell said, even if the pandemic ended tomorrow, many of these small businesses that shut down, they're not coming back. We're seeing record bankruptcies. These companies and businesses are not coming back. We're going to have Walmart. We're going to have Target. We're going to have Amazon. That's what we're going to have going forward. So we have to start thinking about these things. So all of this is relative as to where we're going. And all of this is happening right while we're seeing a spike in COVID cases. So again, before we dive into the crypto stuff, when you sit back and you look at this and you understand we're going into the holidays, this is probably one of the biggest periods for consumer spending. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas, New Year's. If people aren't going to be traveling, we're potentially probably going to have some type of a second shutdown or lockdown, whether it's mild or severe. right? We have these cases globally. Certain European countries are already shutting down. I know Spain started shutting down. This is going to have a cascading effect on the economy going forward. And then now people have to sit here and worry, will their unemployment insurance expire from the federal and state level? Will states be able to keep the funding and use it for their budget shortfalls? Mortgage forbearance is about to expire. Student loan forbearance is going to expire. And the eviction moratorium is the most important thing, because now let's start thinking about this. As I said before, most people are going to try to buy some type of Christmas gift for the people. Maybe not as much because of the shutdowns. But now you have your rent piling up on you, right? Because the freeze means that as soon as January 1st hits, you still got to pay back all that back rent, right? So if you haven't been paying your rent for the past 6 months and now you don't have your unemployment insurance, how are you going to make these things happen? And even if you pass some small, duct tape together stimulus, what about all of the other things I just spoke about? So we can definitely see that this is going to be problematic going forward, which now leads me into crypto. Right now, crypto is pumping. We are doing well. And it's hard to sit here and be excited about the gains, because I know that so many people in the economy is hurting. For so many years, I've dealt with people telling me that this was a Ponzi scheme, that Bitcoin was a scam. Bitcoin is a revolution. Decentralization is a revolution. We need a new form of government. We need a new financial system. We need new money. And whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's DeFi with Ethereum, or whatever cryptocurrency you may be into, we need an anti-fragile system, right? We need a system that is robust. We need a system that is dynamic. And this lady right here, Caitlyn, matter of fact, where is she at right here? She made a very, very, very good post. Right? She says, yup, I happily trade price volatility for systemic anti-fragility when for storing fruits of my labor. When price volatility is suppressed through artificial means, systems become fragile, so that when they break catastrophically. Low price volatility in financial markets isn't natural. And I love what she posted there, because so many people talk about the volatility of Bitcoin, and they don't understand that Bitcoin is volatile because it's natural, right? There's no central bank. There's no repo market, right, where the Fed can come in and inject liquidity, mean print money to prop up asset prices, right? There's no lender of last resort. There's no borrower of last resort. It's a true natural market. Your financial markets aren't volatile because of the Fed, because of the plunge protection team. But the problem is now when you're constantly trying to intervene in markets and get things right, now everything depends on the Fed. Everything becomes intertwined and interlinked. And then you start getting these domino effects where the pandemic is just the pin that popped the bubble. The bubble was the stock buybacks. The bubble was the Fed going into the repo market. The bubble was quantitative easing. The bubble was TARP and TALF and cash for clunkers and all of these different programs that was passed because the government is trying to pick winners and losers. And in the end, what ends up happening is that now it makes people take exaggerated amounts of risk. People are willing to lever up. People are willing to go deeper into debt because why? The government's going to bail you out. So why not? And we're starting to see this. But now what happens now is that you get this pandemic, everyone's over indebted. Now everyone has to go and deleverage. And then now you start getting this volatility that's starting to happen. And then the system's going to end up breaking completely where you're going to have a currency crisis. And we know that that's coming because like when Powell says, oh, don't worry about the debt right now. Let's just worry about, getting the economy back. You can't focus on getting the economy back because the debt is the problem. Right? And we're already at 100% of GDP, right? We're over 100% GDP as far as debt to GDP ratios are concerned. So we're already it's like running over the cliff. Like we've already went over the cliff, right? It's just a matter of when do we fall? And this is why gold is important. This is why silver is important. And this is why crypto is important. Because the volatility is going to come. Just like in Venezuela. The volatility is going to come. You're going to wake up one day and your currency is going to be worth nothing. Or you're going to have the inverse. The deflation is going to be so massive that you're going to have mass unrest in the street. Either way, volatility will be here and it's coming. A Brit Atwar says this needs to be a TV show. My Tech Academy is purified. No problem. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. 100% the donation and the support of the Academy. Also, the DeFi course will be launched next week. This is a big course. It's probably going to this course is probably going to be like a 4 to 5 hour course. It's a big course altogether. A massive course. So very, very, very big course. And that's why I was able to see Bitcoin, and I was able before most people could see it, because I could see the problems with our system, with our money, and how these centralized systems, they're just dated. And see, this is the problem reaction solution that comes into place, because people like Klaus and the powers that be who are coming with the Great Reset, they create the problem, wait for the reaction, and then say, hey, we got a solution. But they caused the problems in the first place. So for the first time now we have neutral money. And I think that this is really, really important. I was telling you guys about Ethereum back when it was at $120, $140. I was talking about Chainlink when it was trading at $1.70. Look at Chainlink now. It's at $14.31. And I had people on here, they called me a coon, an agent, and Uncle Tom. No one wants that free money. You don't know what you're talking about. You attacking the black brothers. And look, these phantom schools, they don't exist. Real estate funds are not performing. Right? But the things I've been talking about are performing. So, you have to start really paying attention to this. Now, this is cool right here. I want to play this video. Let's listen to what he had to say. This is BlackRock's CIO.
Before you go, you alluded to the distinction between what's happened with the price of gold and Bitcoin, and you said that you think it's moving towards Bitcoin. Before you go, you alluded to the distinction between what's happened with the price of gold and Bitcoin, and you said that you think it's moving towards Bitcoin. Is that a long-term trend? Does that mean you're a Bitcoin bull? I asked because we had talked to Jamie Dimon earlier this week, who, despite JP Morgan supporting crypto in a very big way, and actually Bitcoin to some degree, on Bitcoin itself, he seemed to think it's still very possible if it ever really reaches escape velocity, and maybe it's getting closer as it passes $18,000 per Bitcoin, that the government actually would try to regulate it.
So, Andrew, I think cryptocurrency is here to stay. And I think it is a durable, and you've seen the central banks that have talked about digital currencies. I think digital currency and the receptivity, particularly millennials' receptivity of technology and cryptocurrency is real. Digital payment systems is real. So I think Bitcoin is here to stay. I think, am I a Bitcoin bull? I mean, I don't do a lot of it or virtually any of it in my portfolios, my corporate portfolios, my business portfolios. But do I think it is probably, it's hard to say, is it worth the price it's trading at today? But do I think it's a durable mechanism that do I think will take the place of gold to a large extent? Yeah, I do, because it's so much more functional than passing a bar of gold around. And by the way, the way you can track.
So I just want to cover something, because the news anchor was saying about the government shutting it down, and Ray Dalio was saying that. And again, you get that type of critique from people who, again, they don't understand networks, they don't understand technology, they don't understand how a protocol actually works. I can run the Bitcoin client on my computer locally. I can generate my keys on my computer locally. Why is this important? You can have thousands, millions of people running the Bitcoin software simultaneously at one time. So even if the government comes and tries to shut down my computer locally, what about the computer in Jersey? What about the computer in California? What about the computer in Istanbul, Turkey? What about the computer in China? This is local on my machine that I'm verifying consensus, that I'm verifying the blockchain back to the Genesis block locally on my machine. You can shut down one computer. You cannot shut down millions of computers. You cannot shut down Bitcoin. It is impossible. It is a language. It is a protocol. You cannot shut it down. Period. Now, I know what some of you are going to say. Well, they can shut down the internet. This goes back to game theory. To attack the internet is to attack yourself. What do I mean by that? You need the internet as well. How many government applications run on top of the internet? If they shut the internet down, they shut themselves down. You need the internet. It's simple game theory. Or what if they shut down the grid? Then you're attacking yourself. It's called game theory. If you shut off electricity, you shut yourself off. Gas pumps don't pump. ATMs don't work. You shut yourself off. This is why it's called economic game theory. A rational actor is not going to attack the internet, because to attack the internet is to attack yourself. Prime example, right now, would I pull a grenade pin right here, sitting here in my office, would I pull a grenade and throw it at you? Yes, I may blow you up, but I'm going to blow myself up at the same end. It doesn't make any sense. It's economic game theory. The only thing that they can do is regulate the on and off ramps, the fiat on and off ramps, to make it very hard. But then again, this goes back to incentives. What happens when you make something illegal? What happens when you ban something? You push the price up. What do I mean by that? Drugs are illegal, right? And guess what happens with drugs? When you ban drugs, when you regulate drugs, you make them more expensive. That's all that happens. Because remember, if you suck away liquidity, that makes price moves up even further and faster, because there's less liquidity, there's less price levels above you. So it's just going to make the price of Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency pump even more. It can't happen. Right? Regulation is going to only drive prices up, because it's going to suck out liquidity, because there will be less exchanges now. So less places to get in and get out of. So therefore, now it's only going to push prices up higher and faster in a quicker way. You cannot regulate it. You cannot stop it. You can't. It's a protocol. It's a language. We have a Bitcoin satellite. Blockstream has a satellite that can ping transactions. You can text Bitcoin transactions. You can do a smoke screen of Bitcoin transactions. Hell, you can even do chainmail Bitcoin transactions. Why? It's just a bunch of ones and zeros. It's a language, right? It's symbols. It's hex. If you understand that, then you'll begin to understand that it's a language, right? It's just, obviously it's more efficient to use a computer. No one's really going to want to do Bitcoin smoke signal transactions, but you could theoretically, right? It's a language. It's a protocol. When you understand that, you would never utter the words of shutting it down, because you can't. As long as people want to use it, they're going to use it. Now, you can make it hard. You can make it, illegal. But again, that's only going to pump the price even more. Very simple. It's not complicated. It's only going to make the price pump more. And then, next thing I want to get into is, it says Bitcoin now has a greater market cap than MasterCard. As I told you, first slow, gradually, then exponentially. And remember, with the halving now, the block subsidy and the block reward is cut in half. So there's less new Bitcoin being issued. This is why you can't compare Bitcoin to a stock, because you can always do a reverse split, right? Or split your stock or dilute your stock price, right? You can always issue more stock for your company. You can't do that with Bitcoin. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. And every 4 years, the block subsidy gets cut in half. Right? So there's only 6.25 Bitcoin in each new block. We went from 12 and a half to 6.25. So you can't even compare previous performance of Bitcoin because there was more Bitcoin coming into circulation back then than now, right? So now with Grayscale and these big whales coming in, Bitcoin cannot absorb as much buying pressure. This is why you're seeing these big leaps. And people can say, well, when are we going to get a pullback? Who knows when? Because there's less Bitcoin in existence now, new Bitcoin, than in the previous bull run. So this is what's going to pump our bags even more, right? It says Bitcoin reached 16th place among the world's biggest entities after its market capitalization grew to nearly $335 billion. The total market capitalization of Bitcoin has exceeded that of MasterCard's today, placing the cryptocurrency on the 16th spot among the world's largest companies, according to tracking platform Asset Dash. Bitcoin is ranked 16th among the world's largest companies, and it's a baby. It's when you understand how early we are, when you understand Metcalfe's law, when you understand just how most people don't even know about this, most people aren't even invested in this. I told you the stock market's worth $100 trillion plus. The entire cryptocurrency market cap is worth what? We're up to $536 billion. Baby. Now, if Bitcoin's trying to be digital gold, because remember he was talking about it's more functional than gold bars. It is. This right now is worth, let's see. This is a 1 ounce American, what is this? This is American buffalo, not an eagle. This is a 1 ounce American buffalo, right? So I believe this has a little bit of a premium to it compared to American eagle. So let's see how much an ounce of gold is right now trading at. What's this, 1869? And again, I own a lot of gold, right? Because I want to preserve my purchasing power. So I own a lot of gold. But let's take a step back. This is worth, let's just round and say $2,000, right? You really think I want to walk around with 50 of these or 100 of these? You think I want to really walk around and keep like passing these around? Or because we live in a digital world now, we need digital money. It's much easier for me just to send money via Bitcoin or Ethereum than it is to, send gold around. Because even if I sent this through the mail or I sent this to a third party, I have to trust that you are not going to steal my gold. I don't have to trust anyone with my Bitcoin. I don't need any third party, no custodian for my Bitcoin. I just need your public address and I send it to you. That in itself makes Bitcoin way more functional than gold could ever be. Very simple, not complicated, right? So again, I own gold. I'm not bashing gold. I'm not saying that gold is worthless, but again, Bitcoin is only worth $300 billion. Gold has a $10 trillion market cap. Which one do you think is going to pump more? It's not complicated. And then now you start thinking about Ethereum and DeFi. What if Ethereum can capture 10% of financial services worldwide, globally? What are we talking about? $5 trillion ETH? $3 trillion ETH as far as market capitalization is concerned? Come on. No brainer. No brainer. Like it's so obvious. And then, as I said before, from an employment standpoint, engineers, entry-level blockchain engineer earns $74,000 for an entry-level job. Within a year of studying this technology, playing with this technology, you should have enough skills to learn at least an internship. Like, it's not complicated because if you look at Solidity, the programming language is similar to JavaScript. We have a JavaScript bootcamp going on right now in my Tech Academy. I just put another project in there. What was it, 2 days ago? I released another project where we're building simple things right now. Button that changes colors. A simple quiz. Next week, we're getting into frameworks now with Bootstrap, because Bootstrap is just a framework that, it's common on the internet. Like most websites use Bootstrap. Well, I wouldn't say most, but most developers who struggle with CSS use Bootstrap, right? So it's a common theme. So learning Bootstrap is a no-brainer. But again, we're going to get into React.js. We're going to get into Vue.js, all of these different frameworks. So again, it's a no-brainer to learn this new technology. Like, why not just learn it? It's here. You can't deny it. Yes, I own stocks. I own precious metals mining stocks, like Newmont Mining, Barrick Gold, because at the end of the day, the people looking for gold, when they find it, those stocks are going to far outperform the price of gold and silver. I believe that if you look at the gold to silver ratio, silver is going to far outpace gold. So I own more silver than gold. If you look at the Google trends for Bitcoin searches, it hasn't even hit its peak yet. Like, you haven't even hit peak FOMO yet. Right? So you haven't even hit peak FOMO yet. Like, because if you look at like the actual searches in the search engine, you don't see like the trend. You don't see a lot of people looking for how to buy Bitcoin yet. Once you see that start spiking up, then you'll know. Good. There's nothing wrong with tech stocks. Tesla's a bull. Look at medical marijuana. Look at biotechnology. Like technology in general is a beast. Crypto is technology. People, like, it's not just a currency, it's a protocol, it's technology. Right? When you look at Ethereum, is trying to be like the internet of value, right? The internet of things. Right? When you understand these things, like, it's powerful there. It's powerful. See what's going on in here. It's not about Oh, you answered your own question. You said it can hold billion. Yeah. Your ledger is all about space, like how much space your crypto can hold, right? So your ledger X can hold an insane amount of crypto. Insane. Mm. Someone says, I follow the ADOS FBA B1 movement. Listen, I try not to be. Okay, let me frame this in a way that's not divisive. I think that those movements are great for what they're trying to do, as far as to quote unquote bring awareness to problems, to issues, to racism, racial wealth gap, all that stuff. But at a certain point, you also have to give information to people about wealth transfers that's happening every day. Crypto is a wealth transfer. Crypto is a wealth transfer. And if you're just sitting around all day long talking about the problems, but not talking about practical solutions, politics, you should be focused on your politics. Absolutely. Not here saying you shouldn't. Politics is a time-based thing. Every 2 years, every 4 years. What are you doing in that between time? Now, again, if you're poor, I say this all the time, you should be focused on trying to get more skills to be more valuable in the marketplace. But if you have resources, you have disposable income, and you're watching these assets double and triple in price, you'll be a fool. And your quote unquote group or your tribe isn't talking about that. That's problematic. That's problematic. I'm just being honest with you, right? If all day long they're just talking about race, racism, and white supremacy, I don't see how that's going to be productive for you to sit around and talk about that type of stuff all day long. In my opinion, I mean, I may be a coon, an agent, an Uncle Tom, a Sambo, whatever. I own that. I don't see how talking about those things all day long benefits people without being balanced, right? Like, you could talk about that because those are real things that affect people. I would be lying to you to say that those things don't affect you, right? But to just talk about those things all day long and not talk about other things and other solutions outside of, the warrior class and, politics and stuff like you got to talk about other things. Right? Like you have to talk about other things. Like that, in my opinion, again, I wish all those movements the best. I'm just telling you, I don't see how that's productive to just talk about those type of things all day long and not talk about other things that you could be doing. Having a balance. You see what I'm trying to say? Like, I just think that, you get the same rhetoric week after week after week after week after week after week after week. It's like, okay, well, then what's next? It's just my opinion. So, let's see what else is going on here. Other questions. And again, thank you to everyone who donated. I greatly appreciate it. Let's look at this Bitcoin. This Bitcoin pump is insane. Bitcoin pump is insane. I'm definitely expecting a pullback. When we get it, I don't know. We're gonna this weekend on Sunday. We're gonna really get into like the technicals of the market and stuff like that. Let's look at this though. Look at this pump. This is FOMO. Look at this. This week after week, 5 straight weeks of pump. 5, guys, I tell you all the time, don't buy breakouts. We don't buy green, we buy red. Those of you in Academy know that we don't buy green, we buy red. Actually, you're right, Courtney Gibson. 7 weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're right. You're right. 7 weeks. Look at that pump. So, I have a big bag of Ethereum. I have a huge bag of ETH. So I'm big on DeFi. Oh yeah, also I'm gonna teach you guys how to stake. Because I don't trust Staker in the Rocket Pool. I think that you should be staking your own. I'm gonna record that video probably tonight. Show you how to stake your own coins. And a deposit contract. Ooh. Look at this. Look how much room ETH has, right? Because basically Bitcoin's like what, $1,000 away from 20K. Right? Bitcoin, I don't, man, that'd be crazy if it hits 20K within the next week. That'd be insane. I've been in Bitcoin since $600-800. Like I got a crazy bag of Bitcoin. But look at ETH. Look, ETH is nowhere near its all-time high. Right? Look where ETH has to go. ETH has a long way to go before it's close to its all-time high. So, that's why I've been trying to tell all you guys, ETH is a better bang for your buck. ETH's all-time high is what, 1,500, 1,600? Yeah, right below 16, depending on which exchange you look at. Right below 1,600. Woo! We have ETH. Once you understand that a lot of ETH is going to get locked up in the deposit contract, man, with the whole staking and proof of stake, man, with ETH 2.0, you have no idea. Most of your ETH is going to be locked up. You need 32 ETH. That's going to put buying pressure. That alone, needing 32 ETH is going to put a floor underneath Ethereum. You have to have 32 ETH in order to stake. But you can obviously there will be like some pools that will allow you to, like, if you have 10 or 5 ETH, you can add it to a pool. But like with Staker and the I think it was a Rocket Pool or something like that, they take a percentage of your stake, like of the fees that you generate. So I wouldn't use those things. Just stake your own coins. It's not that hard to do. You're just doing it through the command line, like to stake your coins and deposit in a deposit contract. I'm going to do a video and show you guys how to do that anyway. It's not that hard. These gains are hurting my brain. Yeah, man. Because, you know, I have most of my crypto on my ledgers. So I have to, like, you know, like log in sometimes and sync it and everything. Man, like I look at my gains, I say, man, and we just started, guys. We just started, man. We're just getting started. We're just getting started. We have so much room to the upside. It's insane. It's insane, man. I like Aave. Aave is a really, really, really good lending platform. Let's look at Band to see what Band is doing. I own Augur too, just for you. I own Augur too. I like Augur. Got a backup Augur. Forgot about that one. Look at Band. It's up 2,000%. Has so much room for growth, especially working with Binance. Has a lot of room to grow. Yep, 16. Yeah, definitely has some room for the upside. Monero's my baby. Monero is the best cryptocurrency for privacy. But you know, Monero's a little bit too good at what it can do. But it's performing right up there with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's up 157%. Look at Monero. Monero's up 164. I use Monero mainly for transactions, like for privacy. That to me is what Monero's value is. Litecoin is garbage. But it can still listen. It's crypto. Everything can pump. Silver, a creator's corner. Thank you for the donation. I stack more silver than gold, just based upon the fact of silver has industrial use cases, and again, I just think based upon the gold to silver ratio, that silver is going to outperform gold. So silver makes more sense. The problem just is obviously, you know, you end up with more silver than gold because it's cheaper. So you run into a problem with like I run into the problem with my silver. Like, where do you store it? You can't keep it all in your house. You don't want to leave it in, you know, a safety deposit box. So then you run into the problem of like, well, how many different locations are you going to store your silver? That's what you run into. Right? There we go. Like, so like it becomes hard. Like, where do you store your silver at? Like, you can't have it all in your house. So then you have to put it in different locations and stuff like that. And moving it around is heavy because there's more of it. So you have to start thinking about that, right? Makes sense. Kelly Cows, he says everything pumps, therefore I'm buying low cap supply coins. Makes sense. That's a good strategy. You know, this is the beautiful thing, right? Remember, I manage money. I manage people's money, right? So I have to put their money into things that I feel is going to perform well and give them a decent return, right? Because most of the people who I'm dealing with, they tend to be older people, boomers. So I can't come to them and say, hey, I put your money in sushi and yam and I lost 90% of your money. They just that, you know, they'll sue me to the high heavens. So I can't do that. So I tend to focus more on the larger cap cryptocurrencies because I know that's where the institutional money is going to be. And at the end of the day, I need to get a return from my investors because I eat what I kill, right? So I need to make them money so I can make money, right? It's very simple. If I don't make them money, then I don't make money. So that's why I focus on the, you know, the bigger cryptocurrencies. No, you can trade derivatives of cryptocurrencies, like a contract for delivery that tracks the price of crypto. So you don't have to put your money directly in Bitcoin. For example, like if you go on Robinhood, you can buy Bitcoin on Robinhood, but you're really just buying a derivative of Bitcoin. You're not actually buying the actual asset. You're buying an asset that's tracking Bitcoin, right? So you got to think about it that way, right? Like, so I put my money and stuff like that. Now, some of my clients, they let me invest directly in crypto. Those are people who we have more of a relationship and they understand what we're trying to do. But like for the most part, like most people, they're just looking to get some gains. Because a lot of people, they believe in fiat. I don't believe in fiat. So there are different investment vehicles for different people. And this is why it's important for, again, for those of you who are interested in investing with me, you and I, we speak, we put together an investment thesis for you. And then I'll let you know the different options that I have. Like some people, they prefer to be in gold and silver and precious metal mining stocks, right? Because they don't want that, you know, the extra risk that comes with holding crypto and stuff like that, right? So it really just depends on more or less your risk tolerance, right? Like, so for example, when Chainlink came down to $7.70, I was on the phone with everyone that I knew or whoever was interested in investing with me saying, listen, right now, I want to pull a trigger on Chainlink. I believe Chainlink's going to be worth anywhere from $75 to $100 billion because the only way DeFi, like if you go to Uniswap and you look at all of the different price feeds that they have and the different liquidity pools, they're all pulling data from Chainlink, right? Like you need an oracle, you need middleware in order for the whole DeFi ecosystem to work. So once I saw Chainlink crash, I said it's a no-brainer. I missed out on Chainlink earlier. We're getting in at 7. Any money you have, send it over to me. So, my business partners, we've been doing business for a while, especially my old ones. Listen, anytime I ask them for money, they send it to me because they know I have a good idea. Like if you've been following my channel, you would see like almost everything that I talk about is making money. Like only thing I got wrong was Tesla. That's the only thing I got wrong. Like I just did not think that Tesla was going to be able to sustain this bull run, right? Like that's the only thing that I got wrong was Tesla. Like I was bearish on Tesla. That's the only thing I got wrong. I just didn't expect Tesla to perform the way that it was. But everything else, I've been right about. 100% holding cash is risky, Courtney Gibson. But again, when you're dealing with older people, right, it's hard. It's hard to get people to understand like why they should be investing in crypto and stuff like that, right? Because they listen to people like Warren Buffett, and Warren Buffett says, "Oh, it's a scam. Don't put your money in this." So it becomes hard to convince people about that. But again, thank you, B Hall 1987.5. No problem. Solidity. I would say that Solidity probably is going to start in a month. Honestly. With Solidity, I'm taking my time with the JavaScript stuff because most people are struggling with it. So I could throw a whole bunch of information on people, but so far every week we've been like doing different projects and we're slowly progressing, right? So we're gonna dive. If you really want to get into Solidity, a good free source is Crypto Zombies. I'll pull it up for you right now if you want to learn. If you just want to start learning it now for free. When we do Solidity, we're going to be building projects, right? Like if you're in the coding bootcamp, you see that we're progressing because everything builds on top of each other. Like you can't learn about databases without understanding frameworks and stuff like that, right? So you have to know the basics. You have to know like Node.js and understand the backend and Babel and stuff like that. But if you want to just get into Solidity, you go to Crypto Zombies. 1 second. Right? This is like when I first started playing around with Solidity, this is what I start playing around with. Crypto Zombies is really, really good. I'll post this in here for you. If you want to start playing around with Solidity, you'll be so much further ahead. I just posted it in there, right? Crypto Zombies is a good place to start. Like learn to code blockchain dApps by building simple games. So again, the way I have it structured, and I have a marketing campaign that I'm getting ready to go on for Black Friday. Like I'm focused on projects. To me, coding is a contact sport. It's like basketball. It's like swimming. I could sit up here and I could read a book about swimming. Like, okay, when I get in the water, I use my left hand, my right hand, and I kick my legs. You can read all day you want about swimming. Until you actually get in the water and start swimming, you're not going to know how to swim. And then it's different between swimming in a pool versus swimming in the ocean, right? So coding is the same way. You learn coding, by building projects. I can teach you what a for loop is, an if-then statement, a Boolean. We could talk about primitives. We could talk about object-oriented programming. Okay, that's great, Keith. We could talk about all that, the basic stuff. You should be able to learn syntax in a matter of 2 months. You should be able to put together syntax. You can learn HTML in a weekend, right? Because HTML, it reads like basic English. And if you're using VS Code, you type in bang tab and it puts the whole HTML skeleton there for you, right? But the next step is, how do you think like a programmer, right? How do you use your computer to solve problems? So you have to start with basic things like making a button that can change the background color. Now, for you, you'd be saying, oh my God, this is stupid. But again, now you're going to start building. Now you start making a quiz. Then you do a calculated application. Then you're going to build a weather application. And as you start building things, you start adding more to your code, learning about, JSON data, learning about databases, learning about including frameworks and then connecting to APIs as you start going, because you can't get out here and start talking about blockchains and dApps and decentralized applications if you don't even know how to connect to a database, if you don't know how to connect to an API, why you want to connect to an API. So this is why you start the way that you start, and you build on different things. And that's how I'm structuring the boot camp. So for some of you who may be more, advanced, then yes, this stuff doesn't make any sense to you. Like, it's useless to you. But for other people who aren't that advanced, like most people, like literally 90% of the people that's in the coding boot camp, they've never programmed a day in their life. You get what I'm trying to say? So I have to start this way. My hope is that within the next month, we can really start getting to React and building applications with React.js. And then once we get to React, because the blockchain stuff is pretty simple. You're just going to Open Zeppelin and just copying stuff that's already been built, like as far as smart contracts that's already been audited. So you don't need to make your own smart contract. You just copy stuff that already exists. Because that's really, honestly, that's what programming really is. Just going to Stack Overflow and stuff and just copying and pulling stuff together. So that's really what it is. Yeah, free, 100%. That's why I structure it the way that I structure it. Just basic things, because you got to think about it too, right? A free crypto education is that other people are going to come behind my tech academy. So for example, a new student might join 2 months from now. So I want them to be able to just go step by step, because I don't want to have to keep, stopping this. I don't want to have to keep stopping and go back and then stopping and go back. I want to have a structure where this weekend is for the newbies and the next weekend is going to be the advanced classes, because I want to start doing Zooms where we're building stuff together, especially when we get into React.js, Vue.js, and we really start diving into Node.js and writing your own APIs and stuff like that. All of that stuff is complex stuff, right? So I don't want to have a person there saying, well, what's a string? You get what I'm trying to say? It would be pointless if I have a newbie oh, well, what's a string and what's an object? I want you to know that already. Yeah, what's null? What's undefined? You get what I'm trying to say? I don't want that. I want people to know what they're doing. I have a couple of students that's really, really advanced already, and I can tell by the questions they ask, I'm just I can't help you. But again, coming up, I have some cool offers coming up for Black Friday and Cyber Monday for some of you guys who want to get involved. Who right now I may not have the stuff for you right now, But if you get it at a certain price, I'll have all of the stuff you need, and you'll get it at a discounted price. I have some really cool discounts coming up. Lifetime students, lifetime members, you already have access to this stuff. Is C++ still relevant? Yeah, of course it is. Of course it's still relevant. Like if you go to cryptojobs.com, you can see it. Like they're looking for people who know C and C++, C++ all the time. Even PHP, Perl, like Ruby, all of those things. Like if you specialize in a particular language, I would say that it's relevant, but there's more opportunity for people who know JavaScript, CSS, and HTML than C++. I would say that the better jobs are for people who know frameworks like React and Vue. I would definitely say, like, if you're into blockchain technology, you're going to have more opportunity, because think about it this way. If you knew how to program and develop applications in the iOS store, in the App Store back in 2009 and 10, like you were literally a shark in a pond. Like you dominated because no one really knew how to do that. So your earning potential was so much greater. It's the same thing right now with crypto. Like if you have these skills, first of all, you're in demand. So it creates bidding now, right? People have to bid for your services. Like they can't just tell you what you're going to make. They have to bid for your services. Like, are they going to give you, health insurance and health benefits? They have to actually bid for your services because your services are that needed. Like that's that great. And then even like salary packages, compensation, all of that stuff. So it's an exciting time. And you have to think about it. As more and more people come into crypto, they're going to need more and more people who know how to work with blockchains, right? So therefore, the little bit of pool that's here is only going to make your value go up, and it's going to be more job opportunities. So it makes 100% sense. I'm just going to hire a student to work for me. That's cool too. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to end the stream here. For those of you who are interested in learning about blockchain technology and cryptocurrency, I created My Tech Academy. We have a free 7-day trial. We also have a coding bootcamp going on. You're welcome to come and try it out. For those of you who are looking to book a consultation with me, simply click on book a consultation. You'll pick a time and a date, and then we'll set up when we're going to talk. For those of you who are invested with me or already invested, 2 of you, the number that you gave me doesn't work properly. So I need to be able to get on the phone with you or text you the next set of instructions going forward. For those of you who received the contract, that contract will expire within 7 days of you receiving it. So through DocuSign, it's going to expire. So make sure that you take care of whatever you have to take care on your end. For those of you that are invested, the minimum investment amount is $25,000, right? So if that's not what you're coming in with, then it doesn't make any sense for me personally, right? Because I'm not going to work for cheap. It just makes sense to do that. And I think that covers everything. So with the whole stimulus thing, I think that things are going to be very difficult going forward. Could we get a stimulus? Maybe. How big that stimulus will be, anything less than $2 to $3 trillion is too small. Between the 26th of December to the 1st of 2021 in January, the unemployment insurance is set to expire. Student loan forbearance, mortgage forbearance, the eviction moratorium, and the aid to the states will expire based upon the stimulus stuff. And I just don't see that happening. And again, it's just very convenient that all of this stuff is happening right at this time while we're having a second spike in the whole COVID cases, and probably going to have some type of another shutdown or lockdown. So just be smart, be diligent. Don't overconsume these holidays. Make sure that you're being, nimble and you're fluent in your thinking. And if you spent the past 9 months just like sitting around doing nothing, go out, go and learn a new skill. This is the time to learn something new. Go to CS50 for Harvard. They have free classes where they teach you about Python, JavaScript, web development, etc. MIT has open courseware. There's no excuse why you should spend, your time being stressed out, frustrated, go and pick up a new skill. Because the goal is to survive the Great Reset, to be here after. So with that being said, guys, have a blessed and beautiful evening. Thank you to everyone who donated. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Make sure that you join my mailing list, and I will see you bright and early tomorrow. Have a blessed and beautiful night.